Yesterday, at Pride in Washington, D.C., there was a scare. Some people heard bangs, many people ran, and people started saying that they believed it was an active shooter. When this happened, I really wanted to tweet something about how, you need to keep your wits about you, not run in a random direction, but I thought, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to retweet law enforcement. I'm going to make sure it's in their hands and I can amplify the message of Capital City Police and law enforcement to protect those in case something is happening. Now, I personally believed it was a false alarm. I had seen some tweets from people saying they didn't see anything and didn't think anything was happening, and so it was a very different circumstance, but it is better to err on the side of safety than risk the harm of others, so I stayed out of it and made sure law enforcement was paved. Clear the way. So whether it's Twitter, whether you're on the road, when you got law enforcement trying to make sure they can keep people safe, you give them the way. So when they start tweeting, I said, my platform, your platform. I will retweet you to make sure you can keep people safe. But as it turns out, it was not a real shooting, and nothing. We don't know what occurred. Someone apparently got arrested. They did have a weapon, but there was no shooting. It was a false alarm. And so the point of this story is, I do want to go through this, but I want to talk about being on the ground in urban conflict and how I'm really worried that our culture and society is becoming overly sensitive and terrified, and it can be a bad thing. While I don't know what to tell you if people start, if you hear bangs, what do you do? I will stress that there are serious considerations in terms of how to keep yourself safe when there's bangs and people are running. First, go to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are multiple ways, PayPal address, cryptocurrency, physical address, but of course, just like, comment, subscribe. The engagement really, really helps. But let's get into this. From NBC, mistaken reports of a shooting at the Capitol Pride Parade in Washington, D.C. sparked panic among attendees. Several people were hurt in the chaos as people fled. D.C. Police Chief Peter Newsham confirmed to News 4 that a shooting did not occur at the DuPont Circle Festival on Saturday, that there was no active shooter in the area. There is no evidence at all that any shots were fired, D.C. Police Commander Guillermo Rivera told reporters on Saturday. Numerous people told News 4 that they heard gunshots, but police maintain there was no evidence of a shooting. It's unclear what people heard, but police say they are reviewing video in an effort to determine what the sound was. We had officers close by, and at this point, there's no evidence of any gunshots. About 7:20 p.m., nearly 3 hours into the parade, police began to respond to reports of a man with a gun. As officers ran to the area, fleeing parade attendees said there was a man with a gun who fired shots. No evidence to support this. Officers arrived at the location where the individual was located. At that point, they stopped that individual and they recovered a gun close by. Police have confirmed to News 4 that a gun was recovered from a backpack in DuPont Circle, but said the gun was never brandished or threats made. A man was charged with possessing a handgun. D.C. police confirmed they questioned one person, and the weapon recovered is being processed. When asked how officers identified the man with the gun, Rivera said it's currently a matter of investigation. A woman was also arrested for allegedly assaulting an officer. It's unclear if the suspects knew each other. So there's a video here that I'll try and play where apparently, I believe this shows everyone start running in random directions. Yep. So we can see people start jogging, and so it's not yet. Well, let's. So for those that are listening, we're playing a video here from NBC. It appears to have frozen, I guess. Okay, great. There is video circulating on YouTube where all of a sudden there's a stampede and everyone starts running full speed because they hear this noise, and it looks like here we go. People start running. No, not necessarily. I don't think this is. Yeah. Okay. People are definitely running. Some people aren't. So that's kind of it. There's other videos show a stampede and people did get hurt. So let's talk about this, right? Well, let's read a little bit further. Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Kevin Donahue confirmed there was no active shooter. The Capitol Pride Parade ended early after the incident, but organizers says all other events will continue as planned with extra security precautions. Police say they were unaware of any threats or hate language targeted at the parade, but encourage anyone with information to contact the police tip line, and they include the phone number. I saw this story on Reddit, and I pulled up the news comment section because there's an interesting conversation about it. Let me see if I can fix this because there we go. Someone said, it was absolute chaos. People running into restaurants and stores, locking themselves in the bathrooms and getting behind counters while screaming. A scene straight out of a movie. An entire mob swarming the streets, running and screaming. Someone said, all for no reason. People need to chill. A response? To be fair, if someone comes at you sprinting and tells you there's an active shooter at a large event, you'd probably at least be the slightest bit of panicked in the moment. It's just a snowball effect spread like wildfire. I have been in many active urban conflicts. Not full-on war with AKs, but I've been in gang territory with gunfire. I've been in riots, many riots, and yes, some revolutions like in Egypt. I was in Venezuela, and there were a bunch of young people protesting on a street corner in the intersection. All of a sudden, the whole group of around 500 people started screaming and running full speed away from where we knew Venezuelan National Guard were. Before this happened, I was standing about 1 block. So let's do it north by south. The National Guard were south. The protesters were to the north. We were on the same level, the same line, like looking at the protesters, but to the west. So to my right, I could see the National Guard. In front of me, I could see the protesters. I told the crew, we are going to back away about 1 block, away from the police and the protesters. And if anything happens, we run perpendicular to where the crowd is running. We do not want to run with them, because if they are being attacked or chased by the guard, we want to leave. Think about it like this. Indiana Jones, the boulder is coming after him. You see this all the time in, cartoons and stuff where someone's being chased by a boulder or a falling tree. They don't turn to the right. We exist in 3 dimensions. You actually have 2 dimensions when a boulder is chasing you. So here's what ends up happening in these urban conflicts. Everyone runs in the same direction, but the important thing to consider, sound echoes, and most people don't know where the gunshots are coming from. I kid you not, I have been in situations where everyone starts running toward the danger. I can't tell you what to do in these situations. What I can say is, for one, I will not be surprised or, it's silly to criticize someone who does run when there's reports of a shooter. Not all bangs are guns, and it's not smart to ignore some bangs. When I was in Ferguson, I was with someone, and all of a sudden we heard bangs, and every protester hit the deck. Because they know what to do. Hit the deck, figure out where it's coming from, run away from it. But I think it's because a lot of these communities, like Ferguson, are used to gun violence. Chicago, for instance, they're used to gun violence. And when I've been in Chicago, I was in Ferguson, that's the behavior I see from the community when gunshots go off. They immediately hit the ground. They look around, try and figure out what's going on before moving. When I've been in other urban environments and protests we'll use this as an example. Everyone just runs in random directions because they don't know how to deal with an actual crisis. I was in Ferguson. I was with an actual conflict reporter, and there was an ABC News guy who was nearby. We hear gunshots, actual gunshots. I'm already on the ground. I look to my right, conflict reporter producer I'm working with on the ground too, and I chuckled. I'm like, yup, dude knows what he's doing. I look to my left, and there's the guy from ABC just looking around confused, and he goes, are those fireworks? And I was like, dude, do you see fireworks anywhere? No. I'm like, do you see people with guns? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, why would you assume it's fireworks? I gotta say, man, I'm not gonna be upset with people in DC for running and being scared. I will say this. My advice to you is immediately running full speed in a random direction isn't always the best thing to do. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if there's a higher percentage of safety and security by running randomly. I will say, though, you can run to the danger. What I do personally is I immediately take cover and get down and try and figure out who's running where and who's doing what. Because who knows what it is? It could be a bunch of bulls stampeding through the street, and if you run in the street, they're behind you. It could be a person with a gun. The point is, you don't want to run. You want to run away to dead ground or to cover. Dead ground meaning you down a hill or up on something else to where they can't get line of sight. The problem with what a lot of people are doing, locking themselves in bathrooms and stuff, is that you've trapped yourself. Okay? You can cover ground probably equally to the other person. However, if you are in a situation, I don't want to, do not take my advice. Do not take my advice. I will only tell you what I would do. I've been in situations where I've been shot at. In Ferguson, hit the floor and got behind a big piece of it was some kind of control box. There's a video of it on Vice News. That's what I did. I immediately tried to figure out how I could reduce my exposure. I don't know where the shots are coming from, so I'll get behind whatever I can and get to the ground to minimize the risk of getting hit. There was a point at Ferguson where someone randomly fired a shot and it whizzed past my head, because I know what it sounds like when a bullet whizzes past your head and hits a wall, and I just immediately dived straight to the ground like I was playing baseball and skidded on the blacktop. I did not just start running in a random direction. When the shots went out in Ferguson, this was like the third or fourth time, I got behind some traffic control box, laid down, and there's video of it, and then waited until we knew where the shots were coming from, and they stopped. We didn't know where they were coming from. There was no point to run. You would expose yourself, and you don't know who's doing what. In my opinion, that's what I did. The police then ran up and yelled, "Get out of here, get out of here." That's when I got up. They gave me the clear, and I said, best thing I can do is run for it. And I did. Longer story, I ended up inhaling a ton of tear gas and displaced the oxygen in my lungs and then passed out. And some dude poured water, some young kid comes out of the house, pours water in my face, triggering a gasping reflex and revived me essentially. Epic, like crazy story. But I guess the point is, I saw this and I felt like, you know what, man? You can see a few things in the video. A lot of people are running and a lot of people are doing nothing. Keep your wits about you. Always. No matter where you are, know your exits and have more than one. There was a video that went viral a while ago of something happened in a club. Everyone's watching a band play. Apparently, like, I can't really remember what happens. You might remember the video better than me. But everyone runs full speed to the exit. The guy filming walks to the backstage exit and walks out the back door. Nonchalantly. I believe it was a fire. He goes around to the front of the building, and you can see everyone's jammed in the door, unable to move. They all shoved each other and got stuck in the door because they didn't know their exits. Most people exit through the same place they came in from. Big mistake. Always know your exits. Have more than one. No matter what building I go into, I know my plan for getting out. Might seem paranoid, but when you work in conflict journalism, you know, it's not like I'm doing that much these days. I'm trying to avoid that because it's become too risky because of my profile. But you understand the importance. And if you're concerned about the possibility that someone could shoot you, which I don't think is high likelihood, know where you're going, when and why. So in this situation, I would say, personally, I wouldn't run into a building. And for this reason. If there's one person with a weapon, they're going to be doing their thing, and they're not going to be able to run as fast as I can while they're holding that weapon. It could be a handgun, and they can run pretty fast. But in that case, I can run pretty fast as well. Basically, the point is I can clear more distance and get to safety. You never know if you pick the wrong building and someone goes in it and starts going after people in the building. Now you've trapped yourself. That's just what I would do. Don't take my advice. Don't do it. That's just the way I see it. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I just really wanted to talk about this because, you know, everyone's running and screaming and nothing happened. But I can't blame them. Things have been crazy. I got one more story coming up for you in a few minutes. I will see you shortly.